All right, folks, Jermaine Ferrell's in the house. It's crunch time, baby. And in the house, Captain Crunch himself, the publisher of Crunch. Digitally, paper, all that good stuff. He's been delivering them all week, so he's been busy on the mileage. Carl,
Hey,
what is up, sir?
Paper route too, Jermaine.
It seems like you're on a paper route. First of all, so much has gone on, not only this week, but even the past day. Three programs are sort of putting the brakes on their season due to some COVID issues. Earlier this week was Northside. They've gone on a 2-week pause. Jefferson Forest with some issues there. They've gone on a 2-week pause. And now they're not playing games the next couple of weeks. And now we have a situation with EC Glass. They're still practicing, but their game tomorrow night is off. Just your thoughts about this. We do a segment called WFXR Sports Uncut with Coach Tater Benson as well as Coach Steven Alexander. And Coach Alexander said he wouldn't be surprised if more programs are getting that direction, and apparently that's the case.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, obviously the pandemic is number one, so it's too deadly and it's too dangerous. If it starts to rear its head, you've got to halt your operations, your football operations, and you've got to at least wait until everybody's clear, or that's job one. So it doesn't surprise me that once it's popped up, that it's not, that it's popping up in other places. But, so far, only three teams is really pretty good. But we'll have to see how it plays out. Certainly, I feel for those kids because, it only takes a couple cases for them to shut down the program for, a few weeks or for the season. And, probably 99% of those kids doesn't have it,
And the thing is, Carl, it's sort of a domino effect because when you look at it, yeah, it impacts these teams, but it's a domino effect because if you look at with Northside, and the game, they were scheduled to play Glenver and then the following week William Fleming, but Glenver and William Fleming decided to play each other on Tuesday, which to my knowledge, I don't think those two teams have ever played each other in football. So that's a unique, interesting thing with Coach Lovelace and Coach Clifford. But hey, they needed a game. Fleming really needs games. So they scheduled that. So they're rocking and rolling right then and there. And then obviously, if you look at EC Glass and Jefferson Forest, Glass was set to host Rushford, and then Jefferson Forest was set to travel to LCA, and that impacts them. So obviously, they're going to try to figure out games there. But obviously, it is a domino effect.
Yeah, and if they do get all this cleared up, the postseason is going to be crazy because, I mean, if you don't have teams that at least get in their 6 games, how do you figure out who's qualifying to go on? You certainly shouldn't punish teams that I think that COVID has popped up on, but you also have to have some kind of measurement to advance teams into the postseason. So I don't know. That's another interesting aspect of this, Jermaine.
Speaking of playoffs, you mentioned that the VHSL just released yesterday the rankings, and we'll go through them real quick. I mean, it's kind of a small sample size. It's kind of early, but when you look at Region 1B, it's never early to talk playoffs because you got 6 games. But you look at the standings and you see that in Region 1B, William Campbell, they're second, where they're tied with Riverheads. I don't know how they figure out a tiebreaker on that. But in Alta Vista, they're 0-1, but they're third. And in this region, there's only 7 teams. And typically, it's going to be William Campbell and Alta Vista always in the playoffs. But that's kind of a little early thing. What were some of your thoughts? William Campbell got a big win on the road up at Nelson County, Alta Vista losing to Appomattox. But just your thoughts about that region with our 2 local teams there.
Yeah, William Campbell always has talent, and they've got that. They've always got good backs. They've got a good quarterback over there. The problem in that area is it doesn't take long in the playoffs to run into somebody really good, and it's hard to, if you can get by the early competition in the playoffs, you can go pretty deep. But it's tough for a William Campbell or an Alta Vista to get by some of that early competition. So. Again, you don't have as many teams over there. So, some teams are going to get a little bit of a pass to move along, but in the end, you got to beat the best in the state no matter what. So, I don't know. That's all fun to watch.
And keep in mind, it's top four, so it even makes it even tighter. So right now, William Campbell, actually, if the season were to end today, William Campbell would play Alta Vista because it'd be a 2-3 matchup. Meanwhile, when you look at Region 1C, Auburn and Grayson County, they're tied for first. Then Galax and Narrows, they're tied for second. And then after that, because Narrows 2-0, Alta 2-0, start doing well. Auburn, Grayson County, Galax each 1-0. And then right below that, there's like a 5.5 point gap between Narrows and Eastern Montgomery. Eastern Montgomery 1-1. And then it's even further down with Perry, McClure, Bath County, Bland County, Covington, and George Wythe.
Well, Narrows is supposed to East Montgomery I think it's next week. So some of these teams are going to run into each other and they're going to clear the air there. But again, some of these smaller areas with fewer teams, it's just a matter of, who plays well that night. And these teams know each other really well. I know Galax and Narrows have faced each other the last couple of years in the playoffs, I believe. So it's not like, you're already playing teams you don't really know that well. Of course, Galax has a new coach because Coach Dixon's at Pulaski County. So, those factors change things up. But they're pretty familiar with each other, these teams.
Meanwhile, when you look at Region 1D, Rural Retreat is tied with East Side for first in the region. They got Rural Retreat second. And then Chilhowie, they're a little further down. They're in the sixth hole, tied for fifth with Grundy. Just your thoughts about that, because it seems to be a big gap from fourth all the way down to fifth in each of these regions.
Yeah, that seems to be the recurring theme, in some of these different regions, different divisions or whatever. But those teams, again, not having seen them yet and knowing very little bit about them so far, they typically play great defense, hard-nosed defense. They're hitters. And they're going to score some points. So again, it's going to have to play out in the playoffs. But you make a great point, though. It seems like a lot. When you get to the fourth position, there's a drop off. So, but these teams are going to play each other as long as they stay healthy. So we're going to get all this settled, but it's not going to be settled this week.
And then in Region 2C, you got James River, Giles, and Appomattox. They're all tied for first in essence, but because of the breakdown, they got James River first, Giles second, and Appomattox third. And then a full 10-point gap between Appomattox and Floyd County. Floyd County's 0-2, but they've had two tough losses. And then Glenver, only a 1.5 back, along with Nelson County, Allegheny, Fort Chiswell. And then below that, Martinsville, Dan River, Radford. Radford opens up their season against James River, which could be real big. And then Gretna, Chatham. Now, some of those schools, because of COVID, not playing enough games. So this looks real. I mean, we've always said Region 2C is stacked, but it's even more stacked considering the fact, again, only 4 teams from each region will make a playoff spot.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of teams there that are of interest to us. Certainly, Glenver went up and played a tough Stewart's Draft team last week. We went up and watched that game. That was a snowball. I mean, I've never seen so much snow on the turf around here in a football game. I mean, it was definitely affected the footing for both sides, but it seemed like Stewart's Draft did a little better with it than Glenver. But Glenver's got a good team, so they've lost one game, but I mean that's no measurement of them. Certainly, they're going to settle that as they move along in the year. And then Radford's always good. If they got Prelo down there, which they do at running back, they're going to be in the mix. Floyd County, Coach Beal over there, he's got a tough deal so far. He's lost 2 close games, very close games, but they're better. They're better than their record, so I wouldn't sleep on them. But you started off with Appomattox being third. I don't know what system puts Appomattox third ever. How many state championships have Appomattox won? I mean, they have to be your favorite if they're in the mix just because of their experience and because of their tradition of winning there.
And then when you look at Region 3C, you look at right now, you got a total of, looking at it, you have 7 teams that are tied for first. But the order that the VHSLs put the teams in, Heritage is first, Brookville second, Rockbridge County is third, and Wilson Memorial coming in at fourth. And then our next local team, Rustburg, in essence, they are 9 points back. LCA is 11 points back, and Liberty out of Bedford, they're 11 points back, also tied with LCA because both are 0-1. But I think what's going to happen is these teams, like you mentioned, are going to start playing each other, and everything will shake out. But just your thoughts about the 3C?
Well, I mean, Heritage is always going to be in the mix. Heritage is for the Coach Bradley up there has proven year in and year out he can produce winners. But I'm telling you, you know, Brookville beat a very good LCA team last week. We took that one in, and that felt like a playoff game. I know Coach Meeks at Brookville said, "Hey, this felt like a playoff game tonight. It was the first game of the year." So because it's a short season, these games mean so much. It puts a lot of pressure on the kids and the coaches and the teams to try to not lose a game they're not supposed to lose. But it is somewhat of a equalizer because nobody's had time to really practice like they've wanted to, or scrimmage, or any of that. So 3C's tough. I mean, that's just it's going to be fun to see who shakes out of there. Again, they're going to play each other. They're going to settle a lot of it on the field, but Coach Bradley, he's always got something for at least for the local folks around here.
Speaking of local, the other local part of our region, Region 3D, of course, when you look at surprise, who's on top, Lord Botetourt, and then Carroll County, they're 2-0, but they're 2 points back of Lord Botetourt. William Byrd and Abingdon, they're all tied for second, so that's your top four. And then what's interesting, 5 points back is Northside, but keep in mind, they're going to be on a pause. So somewhere they're going to try to probably get some games. And then Hidden Valley, they're a total of 7 points back. 8 points back is Christiansburg and Cave Spring. And then Bassett, which again, they got their season going. They're 10 points back of the fourth spot. And then Magna Vista is, 11 points back. Tunstall and Sand River working on things there. But when you look at it, probably the biggest thing, look at Lord Botetourt. Put a 70 spot on George Washington down in Danville. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have ever seen GW give up 70 points in a game. That was eye-popping. But when you look from what I heard, GW Danville, didn't get an opportunity to get into the weight room and do some things.
Right.
Botetourt, remember, they got that offensive line, almost a college-size offensive line. So whoever goes up against Lord Botetourt, they're going to need an ice bath the next day.
Not only an ice bath, but you better bring some flashlights because those guys are so big, it's going to be dark. I mean, it's going to be like being under the undergrowth of some trees out there. I mean, they are big, they're fast, they've got skill guys, they really look good, and we expected that they would be good. I mean, I don't know how many Division I guys on that team have already committed. It's like 10, 11, or 12. And so, just do the math. Those guys are all running around out there, and Coach Harless keeps them playing together. I mean, they're all pulling like a team of mules together. So when he does that, he's got the ability to give the ball to Hunter Rice and run behind those big guys. And Rice is going to make you miss if you get a free shot on him. He's gotten faster. He's gotten bigger. I tell you, Lord Botetourt is well positioned to make a run. I don't want to jinx them or anything. You got to play, and you don't win these things on paper. But they're well positioned to go pretty deep.
And then we look at Region 4D, which is all of our local teams there, and you see that Pulaski County, Amherst County, Salem, and Jefferson Forest are all tied with the same point total of 22. Salem and Pulaski both 2-0. And then we'll talk about Salem's game in a moment, a big one they got against Patrick Henry. And then below the line, 8 points back is Blacksburg. They're 0-2. And then EC Glass, George Washington, and then Halifax County. So right now, the way things are shaking out again, when you look at it, two of the teams are on a break, which is Jefferson Forest and EC Glass. So that's going to be real interesting how the region shakes out there. But just your thoughts about that.
Yeah, we took it. One of the games we took in last week was Salem at Christiansburg. And I mean, Salem, Coach Holter's done a great job maintaining that team's culture. And, of course, he was on the staff there when Maggenbauer was there. So, I mean, he's maintained that, and they look really good. They've got some big dudes in the backfield. I'm telling you, I mean, they're bigger than a lot of colleges. the Barnett twins back there, and Collins. I mean, those guys are all 6'3", 6'4", got to be 220, and can run and really can run support. They're not just standing back there. So they're big, and they're getting a lot like they normally do. They're getting a lot out of the rest of the guys all around. And Xavion Woods is running hard, and he looks bigger. So the quarterback, Chauncey Logan, really got a nice touch, really throws a nice ball. So Salem's one of those teams you probably don't want to see in the playoffs down the road this year. But there's a lot of good teams. Pulaski County, we watched them that first Monday against Cave Spring, and it was 7-0 at halftime. And then they went on to win 42-0. But you can already see Coach Dixon down there starting to convince his players, especially those big linemen, that if they'll, do what he says and follow his leadership as far as coaching, that they're going to be tough to beat. And, they've got everything that he likes. They've got, good running back. They've got the quarterbacks. The big surprise for them, how well he throws the ball. So they're just going to get better every week. So circle that date, week number 6. It's odd to say, the sixth week of the season is the final of the regular season, but that Salem-Pulaski County game could be something to behold.
And then also when you look at really that game, but really it's a triangle. When you look at the River Ridge with Patrick Henry, Salem, and Patrick Henry, Salem, and Pulaski County, that's kind of those three teams right now. They're playing the best out of the whole district. So it might come down to one of those three, and obviously the big one is coming up tomorrow night. And we'll talk about that in a second. Speaking of Patrick Henry, we go to Region 5D, and right now Patrick Henry's 2-0. And right now they're second. They're behind Albemarle by 2 points. Then Mountain View is behind them by 4 points. And Stafford is behind them by 8. But then William Fleming, they haven't played a game yet, so they're on the bottom. And right now, it's going to be tough, I think, for Fleming to get in unless they can get some more games. But then again, if they could, do well in these 5 games, maybe they could get enough points to move up. But it's going to be tough because you got to have 6 games. But looking at Patrick Henry, right now they're in good shape right now for a spot in the top 4.
Yeah, so it's a crazy time because if Fleming wants a chance at the playoffs, if they knock off Member the next game and they feel like they can win their games and they want a shot at the playoffs, they got to sneak a game in with somebody in between games. And in years past, that would have never been allowed. It was a lot to ask kids to play from a Saturday game and then play Friday the next night. Some of these teams, I think Coach Weaver at Hidden Valley told us, he had 72 hours between, one game and the next when they played Patrick Henry and then had to go play Pulaski. It was a little bit longer than that, but still pretty tight. You can't even hardly take a breath and you're already preparing for the next team. So it's not just preparation, but it's getting your body back ready to play. And I do think it affected Hidden Valley at Pulaski. I don't think they had their legs, and I don't think they were ready to go. And I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just saying that's the state of high school football in Virginia right now is, man, you got to recover quick.
And that's the thing because, it's a lot. It's a lot of work down there to do that. And then we go to Class 6, Region 6A. Franklin County is tied with Ocean Lakes, Lanston, Oscar Smith, and Thomas Dale you got 5 in there for 4 spots. But right now, because of the shakedown, Franklin County's topping the region. And then below that, you got 5.5 point gap between Thomasdale and Western Branch. So obviously Franklin County getting a big win, and they have a big one coming up against William Byrd coming up this Friday, tomorrow.
Yeah, and William Byrd missed in a close game last week. So again, it's so early. We're not sure what these teams have, but it's really hard. It's always hard for Franklin County because those teams you mentioned, they're all at the top, but those teams are playing big schools every week and getting used to that speed and that size and those numbers out there, where Franklin County is a little bit hamstrung every year because, they're playing in the Blue Ridge and they're playing, 3A and 4A. Now, good 3A and 4A schools, but it's a little bit different because the numbers are different. And then when they go to the playoffs every year, it's they're playing teams that just run groups of players out there. So JR can handle it. Coach Edwards over at Franklin County, he's smart. He's a good coach. He can handle that if he's got the team to do it. But it's just a little bit different for Franklin County when they get into the playoffs.
That'll be interesting. Now, let's shine a spotlight. It's our WFXR Sports Friday Night Blitz game of the week. Patrick Henry 2-0 taking on Salem 2-0. Both teams with monster wins over Blacksburg, which again, let's look at Blacksburg's had a lot of injuries. But at the end of the day, if you beat someone, Salem beat Salem beat Blacksburg 50-0. Patrick Henry won over Blacksburg this past Sunday, 56-0. So the last couple of weeks, Patrick Henry's playing on a short week, and it's the same case, this week against Salem. Salem kind of on a short week, but they had an extra day. But again, every day counts. Just your thoughts and impressions about this game. Patrick Henry hasn't beaten Salem since 1995, so you're going on a big gap between the two teams. I mean, you're talking, 26 years. The last time PH came out on top over Salem, and PH has had their opportunities last few years.
Yeah, it's to beat a team like Salem and their tradition and their talent and their coaching and over there, in my opinion, you have to be very patient. You're not going to knock them out in the first round. You're not going to beat them in the first quarter. You're not going to beat them in the second quarter. You're not going to outscore them in the first half and run away from them. It's just not going to happen. What I think what PH has to do is they have to settle in. Coach Fiddler has to get them settled in for this is going to be pack your lunch. This is going to be an all-day affair. And if we're going to beat them, we're going to have to be there at the end and have a chance to beat them. And that's just the way I see it. Salem doesn't beat themselves. They don't make mistakes. But they will wait on you to make a mistake. And if you get antsy and pull the trigger and try to knock them out early on, then, you can get in trouble. And if you get behind, there's just no good answer for that. So I think with PA, I think these are two good teams. PH looks really good this year. Roy Gunn at quarterback is throwing it around. They got a freshman running back that we saw against Hidden Valley that Arwan Webb. And he's a freshman, so, he's going to have good days and bad days. But, man, he ran like a man and really hit the hole hard. Davis, the other running back over there, is a big load. They've got good receivers. They've got all the pieces, but just having all the pieces doesn't get you a win against a good team like Salem. You have got to have what it takes between your ears, and that means you have to be patient. You have to jump on chances when you get them, if you get them, and you can't rush it. You gotta be smart. And but Coach Holter, he knows that too. These teams know each other really well. I'm telling you, Xavion Webb looks really good in the backfield. Their line, Sam's got a young line. They've got a couple sophomores at the tackles outside. Most of their experience on the line's in the middle. But again, they call them the Mules for a reason. I mean, it's like they're all tied together. And when they block everybody. And you got to really be disciplined to beat them.
And that's going to be a fun one. What games are you guys spotlighting on the crunch side of things in each of your regions?
Well, we've got to change up a little bit. We may change again. So the New River Valley stands right now. We've got Fort Chiswell coming to Auburn. So we're going to go up the mountain and watch that one. If it, again, all these are if it happens. Here in town, Franklin County at William Byrd is where our Rona crew will be. And then we originally we were going to go watch and cover Rustburg at EC Glass. So, we're looking at where we're going to go now since that game's not going to happen. So, and again, our games are a little bit, we try to pick the best games each week, but we really want to try to cover all the teams that we covered throughout the season. So for us, we've got to shuffle and move around. So we're looking at that right now. What's the best fit in Lynchburg Friday night for us to kind of juggle some things around and make sure we cover as many teams. It's hard. We're not going to be able to cover all our teams live this year in 6 weeks. I mean, it's just not possible, but we're doing the best we can.
All right, couple of things. First of all, let everybody know where you can pick up a copy of Crunch.
Well, there's a bunch of different places you can pick up Crunch. That's not an easy question. You can get it at Haley Toyota. You can get it at the Dogwood. You can here locally, the Dogwood over in Benton. You can get them at Bellacino's. You can get it at the Salem Civic Center. There's a bunch of different places that you can pick up the Crunch. And most of those places you could pick them up last year there too. So, and then, we have different places in Lynchburg, and we have, La Carreta, the Mexican restaurants in Lynchburg have the Crunch. Virginia Furniture Market has the Crunch now, which we're pretty proud that we partnered up with them. And they've got some great locations, especially in Rocky Mount. But they got one in Bedford. They also have a location in Christiansburg. Very nice. I don't want to do a commercial for them, but man, I tell you what, they got some good stuff in there. So that would be a fun place to pick up your Crunch each week and just check out what they've got in the showrooms.
I tell you what, you can do a commercial. If that's what you want to do, get the word out, let them know.
Hey, I promote everybody that supports high school sports. I'm all for them. I think the world of them.
All right, and then obviously coming up, as we're taping this on Thursdays during the 6 o'clock hour, you're on Greg Roberts Live. So you got to hustle to get over there real quick. And then again with Greg Roberts, Randy Leftwich, of course, Chuck Baker and Doug Dowdy, that crew. And then also on the WPOI, you have Crunch Time on the radios, 10 a.m. on Saturdays. So, and also CrunchMVP.com. Did I say that right?
CrunchHSSports.com.
Oh, okay. My bad. Then I gave out the wrong whip.
We got to keep that's really that's something that people want to check into, because that's got a lot of information, and we have our 3 games on there right now, and we keep adding to it. We've got some interviews we're adding to it, some other things. So CrunchHSSports.com. So the HS in the middle there stands for high school. So you got to get on there and check it out.
Good deal. So you got Friday Night Blitz and Crunch, an unstoppable force. So it's great. WFXR Sports presents Friday Night Blitz Crunch Time. Well, Crunch Time, but it's Crunch. And Carl, I appreciate you. I mean, you're a busy man, and I just want to tell you, I appreciate you. Us doing this together, every week. I mean, we kind of missed it in the fall, but, bringing it back. I mean, we have so many digital shows on WFXRTV.com. I got Tater Benson and Steven Alexander, those 2 coaches on Uncut, and then, Crunch Time and, the Fast Lane and all these shows, great shows on WFXRTV.com. And it's great for you to be a part of the WFXR Sports team and Crunch. And it's great to be a part of the Crunch team. I feel like an honorary Cruncher. So.
You're definitely crunchy.
Yeah, I am. Wait. Again, until next week, we're going to catch it in. But again, this is Carl York with Crunch. And thank you so much again, Carl, for being on Crunch Time this week, because it's Crunch Time, baby. Thank you, Jermaine. Have a good week, bud. All right. And again, I'm Jermaine Ferrell. Hope all of your teams are winners. Have a wonderful and blessed day, everybody. And rock and roll, because it's Crunch Time, baby.